Okay, so for the final stage, when you're adding in the hair, some of your painting might mean just colouring in one solid block colour. But some of you might have a more complex painting where you need to create texture to make it look like hair. So for me, the first thing I would do is add in the base layer. So depending on the colour of the base layer, here we can see that she's got a dark coloured hair. So we're going to create dark tones as the base layer and fill in those shapes. Areas that's got highlights, where light reflects or bounces off from the shine of your hair, then you would need to use a lighter tone. So to create that dark colour, what I do, I use burnt umber and mix it with a bit of black to create that dark tone. A little bit of black goes a long way, so don't use too much of it to create that dark tone, otherwise it'll be really, really dark and it's hard to tell the tonal range from there. So look at your image carefully and find what area of the hair that shows really, really dark tone. So dark tone meaning where light can't reach very well. And then look for areas where light does reach and it shows some elements of mid-tone where it's more of the burnt umber colours. Then you would use a lot less black in that mixture. So think carefully as you're creating that mixture of where the dark and mid-tones need to go. And once you've got the base layer in, then you can start thinking about the lighter tones, okay? As per usual, hold your brush where it's close to the metal caps. To create a neat outline, hold your paintbrush more upright. Don't rush your work. Make sure you apply control and accuracy to your work. And again, if you make a mistake, let it dry and come back to it afterwards. The best thing about acrylic paint, you can always correct your mistakes as you go along. Okay, so you can start to see different shades of browns, where you can see browns that's almost black, browns where it's more on the warmer tone, and that creates more of a dimension to the artwork that you're creating to make it look more 3D and just making it start to look realistic as well. So when you're adding the base layer, just look carefully, is there light or mid or dark tone in there that you need to add? Now I'm mixing the lighter tones. As you can see, I used a bit of yellow and white mixed with burnt umber to create those lighter tones. And I just go back in and overlapping areas that shows lighter and dark tones. So areas that I want to show lighter tones, I add a bit more white to that mix. Areas that needs to be a little bit darker, then I add a little bit of yellow ochre to that mix as well. And you can start to see different range of tones as I add a little bit more white here and there. So I barely need to clean my brush throughout this process because it's acrylic paint. I am showing similar colours but in different range of tones. So you just need to go back in and just add light or mid tones as you go along. And you can see that her hair looks really smooth, almost looks quite straight, and as it doesn't quite resemble the texture of hair quite realistically. So the next stage, once you let this part of the painting process dry, you then need to go back in and use a dabbing technique. And as you're dabbing softly without damaging your paintbrush. And that helps to create a more of a rougher texture, and that will look a little bit more realistic to her type of hair. When you're dabbing, just make sure you're not overdoing it. You're looking at it in a more purposeful manner where it creates that textured look and that realism look of her type of hair. So as I'm dabbing, I'm using a mixture of whites and yellow ochre to show different sort of tone and dimension to her artwork. So don't rush in this process. It does require a bit of time as you're overlapping areas to create that texture.